Hello, I'm Claire from Created the Ottaway. Thank you for joining me today. I've got a really lovely little fun fold card for you that's also quite simple and easy to make. It's quite a quick make and you can use some of your lovely DSP that you've been collecting. We're using the Dragonfly Garden stamp set from Stampin' Up and also some of the designer series paper from the Dandy Garden pack. This is part of the larger Dandy Garden suite. Stampin' Up's catalogue also has so many ideas in it. If you haven't got one, you can always get one from me. You can shop with me online as well. Just go to createdtheottaway.co.uk. So on with today's make. If I just show you how the card works. So it folds like that from the front, but when you open it out, you can see how beautiful it is. It works particularly well with this designer series paper because it's a bit of a scene, but I thought we'd have a go of making our own scene. So same card, but making our own background paper. So shall we do the background paper first? So the piece of designer series paper that's inside is actually one piece of 6x6. So that's what we're going to start with here. And this is the shimmer paper, which you probably can't see on camera, but it's got quite a little sparkle to it, okay? And I said we was going to use the Dragonfly Garden. We're going to use this stamp here to make the scene. So I'm just going to pull that out. Okay, and I've got one of my larger blocks here. Now I know that I'm going to want to colour ever so slightly with watercolours, so I'm going to use some stars on ink. Okay. I'm just going to see. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to just ink that up a bit. And I'm going to start over this side and go the full length of the stamp and then gradually decrease it. So I'm going to go slightly off. Now you can do this in your Stamparatus. Okay, yep, that's fine. Just going to ink it up again. I'm going to go a little bit shorter this time. There. Remember, you're just doing like a background field of flowers. So a little bit shorter again. Stamp it up, ink it up again. I'll do it one more time there. But I think I'd like to do another one there. So I'm just going to do it off the page like that. But can you see? So I also feel like there's a bit too much of a gap in between. So I'm not going to ink again, but I am going to fill in between. So I'm just using the ink that's already on there, just to give it a feeling of a whole field of flowers. You see it's getting lighter and lighter. I'm just going to do that there. And then put that to one side. I'm going to add a bit of colour to it. Now I just want a bit of subtle colour. So I'm going to use my watercolour pencils from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to add a little bit of colour. These look a bit like beautiful daisies. But if I leave them white, they won't show up. So I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow. I'm not being too careful with my colouring because I'm going to use the blender pen in a minute. And even the background shadow, if you like, I'm also adding a little bit of colour to that, but not quite so much. So I'm not pushing down so hard on the background ones. So any of those flowers that I can see, Just realised I'm probably wobbling the camera, aren't I? Oh, hey ho. There's one there. There's one there. Now, you could spend a lot of time colouring, but I want to get on and show you how to do the card. So I'm just looking, have I got all the yellow ones? I'm going to do a little bit of orange on the head of the flower. Just add a bit of colour. And you can, I'll show you in a minute, but you can see my colouring is not the neatest. And I don't want to colour all of this greenery, but I am going to pick out some of the bigger leaves. You're going to get seasick from the camera. I need to look at that for next time. Okay, so let's have a look. So you can see up close, it's not the neatest, but I'm going to use my Stampin' Blender pen. Oh, let's just make sure that's clean. I'm just going to spread the colour a bit. So it really does look a bit watercoloured, water washed. So it doesn't matter that I didn't go right up to the edges. I promise it's going to look good. That's why it's a quick and easy, simple card. Okay, so I'll show you that a bit more. So that looks better coloured in now, doesn't it? And then the other thing that I think I'm going to add to it, so I'm going to use one of these brushes and some Mossy Meadow. The reason I've chosen Mossy Meadow is because the card that I'm going to use as my background or my main piece is Mossy Meadow. So I'm just going to put some shading around the edge. I'm just going to turn that way. And you can see already it gives it a really nice aged look. So I'm going from off the paper onto it. And I'm going up the sides. And I'm going behind here, but when I've got less ink. Okay, and I'm going to leave it a bit lighter this side. So that's that done. So, what do you think? So that's our 6x6. Now, let's cut the card. So just bring this, put that out the way for a moment. Bring my stamping trimmer. And let's cut the base of our card. So you need to take an A4 sheet and we are going to cut it 5 3/4 on the short side. So 5 3/4. Okay, there's a nice big chunk that you don't need. And then I'm just going to pull this arm out and find 8 1/2, which probably might not be on 8 1/2. Yeah. Okay, so there's another piece that you don't need. Now your piece that's 5 3/4 by 8 1/2, you're going to score on the long side at 1 1/4. So find 1 1/4. Remember to remove your cutting blade out the way and just do it 1 1/4. And then 4 1/4. 4 1/4. Okay, so that's that. So that's your base of your card, believe it or not. So if I just put that to one side. So this is going to be your back, and this is going to be your front. Okay, so you should have a card that's like that. Okay, I'm just going to use my bone folder just to crease that. And that. So that's the backbone of my card, the base of it. Now remember I said we were going to use a 6x6 piece to decorate the panels inside. The first thing we need to do is trim a piece off of the 6x6 and make this 5 5/8 because that will then fit inside as a panel. So now do we do it off the bottom? Because can you see my mistake? I went up a bit there. I think I actually am going to do it off the bottom. So 5 5/8, because it doesn't matter which end you take it off. It's only going to be a sliver, not the scorer, the cutter. So I've taken that piece off. So now actually that gives me a nice bottom edge. 6x6 cut down to 5 5/8. Now I need to cut this into 3 pieces. So the first bit is 2 1/4. So 2 1/4. The next bit is 1 5/8. 1 4. 1 5/8. And that should leave you with 2 1/8. So they're your 3 pieces. If you try and keep them in that order, you'll be able to tell by your scene anyway that you've made. But that's it. And you also need 1 more sliver of the white shimmer paper or whatever paper you're going to use to write your sentiment on or your message for somebody. And that needs to be 1 3/4 by 5 5/8, which I've already done. Okay, so that's another piece. So let's start putting that together. So the first bit you're going to do is you open your card out and you're going to put your sentiment. That's going to go there. And you can just do that by eye. You're going to leave a border all the way around. Just to show you, when I put that next to it, the difference in colour is quite stark. So I think I'm actually going to do a little bit of blending just on the edge of this. Not too much. Can you see it's pretty subtle? It's whatever ink is already left on my sponge brush. So it's not as dark as the main piece, but it still takes away some of the sharpness. Hopefully you can see that. I take my Tombow glue and I am going to put that all on there. And the reason I'm using Tombow is because it gives me a bit of wiggle room. Okay, so I'm going to put that along that edge. And this, like I say, is where I would write my message or stamp a little sentiment in the middle. That's that bit. Okay. Then the next piece is going to be the piece on the furthest side. If I bring that over. So this is the piece, actually we'll do the front piece next. So the piece that's the widest, which is 2 1/4. If you bring your front over, what you're aiming to do with your biggest piece is stick it on there, but cover the bit where you're putting the sentiment. So you're just going to put some glue on here, and then you're going to place this on here, but make sure it covers your sentiment so that when you open, you can see it, but when it's shut, you can't. So I'm just going to put some glue down here. I find it easier to put glue on the card than I do on the back of this piece, just because you don't know how far over you're going to need to stick it. And again, I use Tombow glue, so there's a bit of wiggle room. I know I've only got glue on the green on the Mossy Meadow card, but that now covers up when it's shut, but when it's open, it's there. So I'm going to lay that open. The next one I'm going to do is this one. So this was the piece that was 2 1/8. Again, put some Tombow glue. I really like this card because you can really show off some of the beautiful scene paper that Stampin' Up! Do, or show up some of the sets that make really lovely scenes. So that's that piece, and you're just doing it by eye. You're just putting a border around, and then this bit will go here, and again I'm just doing it by eye and leaving a border all round. Okay, so that's going to go there. I'm actually joining it up to this line so that you get a really nice frame around what you've made. Okay, so that's the inside done as well. Like I say, this is where you would write your message or your sentiment, but when you close it, it's here. Now you could leave it like that, but I actually like putting another panel here, and that's where the Dandy Garden Designer Series paper comes in. I'm just going to put a piece of this, which is also Mossy Meadow, just to finish off the front. You could do a coordinating piece of card, you could do an embossed piece of card, you could do all sorts just to make it stand out even more. Again, I'm just leaving a frame round, folding that back. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Okay, so that essentially is my card. I'm just going to finish it with a sentiment. So I need a little bit of the shimmer paper, and I'm going to use "Thank you for your kindness." So I'm just going to get a piece of shimmer paper. On there, and my block as well. And again, I'm going to do it Mossy Meadow because I think that is just a standout piece. Now, is that going to fit that way? No, so I'm going to have to trim this. Got a massive piece of paper, haven't I? Okay, let's see what we can do with this. See, ideally you would already have cut a piece ready, but I forgot that bit. Okay, I'm just going to trim that. It's slightly wonky. Does that matter? Yes. So, okay, let's see how that comes out. And now, that really is wonky, isn't it? Oh my goodness, look at that cutting. Maybe that would be a good thing. Maybe it is. Let's treat it as a good thing. There's no mistakes in crafting. Isn't that what they say? Happy accidents. Okay. Oh yeah, that'll do. But I also think it probably needs a bit of this Mossy Meadow behind. So if I put some glue on there, because I'm never going to cut that to the exact measurement, am I? I'm going to stick that on so it's got a little border, very little border, and then get my scissors and just cut where I think. There and there. I'm quite liking the jauntiness of that, but actually, do you know what I would like to put on there? One of these lovely little ladybirds that go with the set. I'm only going to put one though because I like them too much. So I'm going to put a bit of glue on the back of there, just on half of it because I want it to overlap like that. Oh yeah, I do really like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue there, and I'm going to stick our ladybird onto it and wait for that to dry. So there is our card. So this is what it's like with the Designer Series paper, and this is what it's like with our stamped image. I actually have to say I prefer the stamped image. But there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to see your makes. So get in touch. Thanks.